can use that one on them
Hello,
tonight.
friends. Welcome back to Saturday Evenings Posted Mostly presents. And today we're going to be talking about the Fae Festival coverage that our uh, dauntless ASOC prod Cat got for us. Uh, Cat is here. Hi, Cat. We are also here with the Peanut Gallery. Hi, Peanut Gallery.
Chirp, chirp, crickets.
What?
Ribbit, ribbit. Chirp, chirp.
Said chirp, 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 crickets.
So let's start with the ad read before we. Very good. Before we get
Thank you.
too into anything. Today's pre-rolls will be brought to you by The Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, 105 West Main Street, above the bricks, on the downtown mall above the bricks, Suite 200, a great place to go with some great buds, to get some great buds. A bud, and the only thing better than their bud is their customer service, and they have the lowest prices in town, according to my own personally highly biased research, by which I mean I was incredibly high when I did my biased research. Don't forget to check the website for times and events. The website is thehiddenleafcville.com. That's thehiddenleaf, CVILLE.com. Where you can find events such as Frosty Fridays, where you can visit our other sponsors, Firehouse Craft Farms and the Kush Gang, purveyors of excellent edibles and drinkables. And because it is an alternating Saturday, it is breakfast with the Kush Gang today. And we have some peanut butter cookies that total 100 milligrams. We have some red velvet cookies, total another 100 milligrams. We have pink lemonade Kush juice for an additional 50 milligrams. We will be putting more of the apple butter on the cookies for a total of another 100 milligrams. So far, we're up to 350 milligrams. And of course, we couldn't do this without drip to add another 500 milligrams, topping us out at 850 milligrams. So that is what we will be eating for breakfast with the Kush Gang today. I would normally at this point make a disclaimer about how this is a political show. We have political opinions. We're politically motivated people. But this time, we're not actually covering that much politics. We'll be covering the Fae Festival, a few interesting news stories about bugs, a bit of errata around something from last week's show, and what was the thing I tossed up in the and the Fae Festival, and none of that is exceptionally political, overtly political, so I don't feel the need to say that any political views you hear here expressed herein belong to the expressor of the opinion, us, and or the label and our parent company, but do not necessarily belong to any of our sponsors, such as the Kush Gang, Hidden Leaf, or Firehouse. There we go. That's ad read, eh? Now let's
I
get
believe so.
started with Weed the People. Oh. Oh, that is good. Oh, that's a winner. Oh, that is I hope Kingsways pops in the chat and can hear how much I like this, because this is that's the winner flavor. If I'm gonna get one of those if I can get one of that flavor from here on out, that's the flavor I'm going.
So you're saying it's cooling you down?
Chilling me out, baby.
Well, it is the winter flavor.
Winner, not winter. Because we know if winter and winter were the same, the Starks wouldn't have had so many problems.
Nah, they did, because everybody else was just jealous.
I mean, we know that, but still, they weren't the winter winners. Did any Starks? Arya survived. Sansa survived.
Yeah.
Did any of the other... Oh, Bran. Bran survived. Okay. So, a decent number of the Starks survived. Mm. Oh, and that's a good flavor combo.
Didn't Jon Snow survive? Technically?
Yeah, but he's a Baratheon. He's not a Stark, he's a Baratheon.
He was still adopted and raised as a Stark, so that counts.
Yeah, no it doesn't. We're only going by blood here. Also, if we're going by adopted and raised by, as soon as he took the black, he stopped being a Stark.
Okay, fair point.
He's either a Baratheon by blood or not a Stark by society because he took the black. Oh. I hear a baby Z just on the other side of my door.
Uh-huh.
Well, as I did not actually watch to the finish of the show.
Yeah.
He's a Baratheon?
Yeah. Spoilers. Sorry.
What? It's been 7+ years. Oh no, spoilers.
Mm-mm. Yeah, he's a Baratheon. Stark
Jesus gets crucified. Oops, spoilers.
Mm-hmm. Right? Catelyn never, or not Catelyn, what's his name? Never cheated on Catelyn.
No, I know that.
Right.
But wasn't he Eddard's sister's son, which still makes him Stark.
No.
And I thought he was a Targaryen, not a Baratheon.
No, he's a Baratheon. He's Jon Baratheon's son. One of. He's as Baratheon as what's his name, the blacksmith kid. Yeah, that's why they put the blacksmith kid in there. Was so that they could say, see, it's not just the Targaryens who have these dominant genetic qualities that pass down through the line. The Baratheons have it as well. It's the black hair. It's the, although Stark blood in him would mean that he would point to why he is not as big as the rest of the Baratheons.
Mm.
But yeah, he's a Baratheon. Okay. He's a Baratheon and Stark, sure. As far as the crown goes, as far as being the person who should have been the next king, he was Baratheon.
Feeling like maybe this is a conversation that should have been had when Darth Dragonis was around, so he could moderate and floor both of us.
Nope. He's Targaryen.
He's Targaryen.
His mother was Eddard's sister. His father was Targaryen.
No. Really?
I just looked it up in the wiki.
Oh, because we believe wikis.
For rabid Game of Thrones fans, yeah.
Targaryen. No. Okay.
Because in the books and the show, Eddard Stark's sister, Laelia, I believe, was quote unquote kidnapped by a Targaryen. And the attempt to go rescue her, they came back with Jon Snow.
How long did the rescue take?
It was in the middle of a war, and you know how wars work in this universe.
Apparently long enough.
That still doesn't mean that he's not a Baratheon. There's still room for him to be a Baratheon. If what's her name was kidnapped while she was already pregnant. I really felt like they did everything in the show. In the show. Actually, by the time I stopped reading the books, in the books too, they did everything they could to point you to Jon Snow being a Baratheon. Oh, hi, Just Me, Crystal. Much love. Mwah. Thank you for being here. So let's move on to something that matters a bit more, actually. To some errata. Let us move on to me being wrong. So, anti-disestablishmentarianism, which I said was farmers, people who wanted to keep the socio-economic status quo the same. I was adjacent to being close to the right answer, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism. We are going to go ahead and look this up in the Wikipedia. Anti-disestablishmentarianism is a position that advocates that a state church, the established church, should continue to receive government patronage rather than be disestablished, i.e., separated from the state. In 19th century, Britain developed as a political movement in opposition to disestablishmentarianism. The Liberal Party's efforts to disestablish or remove the Church of England as the official state church of England, Ireland, and Wales. The church's status has been maintained in England, but in Ireland, the Anglican Church of Ireland was disestablished in 1871. In Wales, 4 Church of England dioceses were disestablished in 1920 and became the Church in Wales. In colonial America, the Church of England was disestablished in 6 colonies despite its mild popularity in the 1780s. Many Anglicans in America began to refer to themselves as Episcopalians. Well, that's something new for me. So it's a religious movement to bring church back into government. Which has nothing to do with farming. All right, do we want to cover?
Yeah, let's talk about the bugs, but start with the last article that I shared, and then go on to the one above it.
All right. Let's do this. Sorry, I have to take care of a technical there for a moment. Alright, there we go. 8 facts about the fascinating roly-poly, or pill bug, as I grew up calling them.
The main reason for sharing this is that one of the very first facts, because I was being bored while doing several other things, and so scrolling Reddit and came across someone going, "Hey, today I learned that pill bugs are actually this thing. They're not an actual bug, they're this." Which paused the being bored and scrolling as I fell down the rabbit hole of, let me look this up. And then someone else in the Reddit stream further down had shared the other article that I posted, the one from the Smithsonian.
Aha. Okay.
So yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were going to talk longer. Thought I had longer to...
Oh. No. So the main reason I shared the article from Tree Hugger is literally that very first paragraph there. Not even the first paragraph, the first sentence.
Right. The roly-poly, or pill bug, is a terrestrial crustacean that looks just like an insect.
Yes.
Oval-shaped with 7 sets of legs and a hard outer shell, these creatures are best known for their ability to roll themselves into a perfectly shaped ball when threatened. Native to the Mediterranean, really. Roly-polies can be found in nearly all temperate terrestrial ecosystems worldwide. From superb composting skills to unusual bodily functions, discover the most fascinating facts about the roly-poly, including their most common names and whether they're even insects at all. Well, we just covered that they're not.
Uh-huh.
That's not great writing.
I mean, they go into it a little bit deeper on point number 2, but and point number 3 technically, but which is the 2 and 3.
Okay. What were you saying?
I was gonna say points 2 and 3 are kind of interesting to read anyway.
Alright. Scientific name. Armadillidium vulgare. Armadillidium vulgare. Common little armadillo is what I think that translates to. I mean, I guess I see it. You see an armadillo, you see a pillbug, you're like, okay, how are these two things not related? Roly-poly is just one of their names. For one small bug, they go by a lot of different names. The most common species is Armadillidium vulgare. I wanted to make sure I was getting that right. They are officially called pillbugs, but they're also known as doodlebugs, wood shrimp, and woodlice. Oh, that's what woodlice are. Okay. I did not know that that's what woodlice were. I thought woodlice were termites.
See, that's one of those ones that gets me because there's a bug that lives in mulch that I've grown up calling woodlice because of how they act. Not these. And it's not a termite either. It's something else.
Makes sense though.
Yeah.
People in the United Kingdom refer to them as chiggy pigs, penny sows, cheesy bugs. Keep in mind that while these gentle critters may eat a few of your plants, they are not harmful to humans. They're not really bugs. Even though they're called pillbugs and they have a bug-like appearance, they're not insects at all. They're actually terrestrial crustaceans, more closely related to lobsters, crabs, and shrimp than to beetles or butterflies. Roly-polies are the only crustaceans that have adapted to living completely on land. These creatures range from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch in length and have segmented bodies and 7 sets of legs. Okay. They have gills. Okay. Pillbugs breathe with gills, like their ancestors. While gills are great in the water, they are not ideal on land because they can dry out. To preserve moisture and avoid desiccation, pillbugs are active at night and spend the daylight hours in wet, damp areas under things like logs, mulch, and stones, where they can roll into a ball to protect any moisture they have on their gills. That is pretty interesting. They roll into a ball when disturbed. Okay. The reason they're called roly-polies is also one of their most visual, delightful qualities. When these critters are disturbed or frightened, they roll into a little ball, a process known as conglobation. Conglobation.
Mm.
It's a defense mechanism that is hypothesized to have evolved to protect the pill bug's soft underparts from predators and to allow them to retain moisture on their gills. They eat metals.
Yep.
Roly-polies play an important role in the environment. They can take in heavy metals such as copper, zinc, and lead and then crystallize them in their bodies. This has made them an ideal test subject in studies of pollution and related environmental research. The pillbug's unique ability to remove heavy metal ions from contaminated soil allows them to thrive in polluted locations where other species cannot. Okay, that is interesting.
Yep.
What's up, Chris?
They
In
eat metal.
316?
They eat metal. Does that mean they turn AC/DC into acoustic?
That would also require a creature that converted current.
Okay. Then
Well, 'cause
Pantera.
AC and
Metallica?
DC current that then has to convert into
Well, no, because I mean they
acoustic.
live in wet environments, so they're just discharging all of that into the ground anyway.
Oh, you're saying they're grounded.
Yeah. I'm saying they're grounded.
Or, since woodlice eat metal, that means acoustic, aka folk, is stronger than metal.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna that statement will cause some issues.
Just ask your party's bard. To which Peanut Bat Gallery is going, none of our parties have a bard.
No. There's no bard. There is a space scum.
Mm.
That's close.
Hey, I have no problem with that statement because I'm just as likely to be listening to Kingston Trio as I am Metallica.
This is true.
Kingston Trio. One
Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry.
No, I'm trying to
Hang
remember
down
the
your head.
names of the band members.
It changes because they're an evolving band.
The father of somebody I went to high school with, was in, I'm pretty sure was in the Kingston Trio.
Hmm?
I'm trying to remember the kid's last name.
Well, what we do is we pull up a listing of Kingston Trio members and go through it, and then we see if any of them sound familiar.
It would have been 70s, 80s.
One of the original members,
Yeah,
or at least one of the first
and I think
few
player.
rotations.
If I could remember the kid's last name, that would help. I can remember the kid's first name. Unfortunately,
Wonderful.
it's the same first name as Danny's last name.
So we're not doing that.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird things about where I went to high school. Um, my chorus teacher's flute maker was the same person who made flutes for Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull.
Okay.
It was a very connected school. Like it was one of those private schools that was just a little too connected to everything.
Yeah.
Like when you graduated from this school, you got handed. And the thing is you didn't get handed a scholarship to some prestigious school or something, and then a job and all that stuff. It was really the people who went to the school were connected.
Mm.
And would walk out with their, but it didn't translate to all of the students. Not all of the students reap the benefit of that kind of thing.
I mean, that sounds a lot like playing out at the ballpark that I grew up playing in.
Mm-hmm.
Where, any given season, you know very well that there's at least one, if not two, best-selling authors that are going to be roaming through the park that you can chat with.
Right.
And there are people that you don't realize live locally that have their kids just randomly playing there on the teams.
Right.
And you're at a scrimmage, and you're showing up for a scrimmage against some other team that's not part of your park, and they're all dressed up, and you're standing there talking to various parents, and it's like, oh, okay. And you're trying to do the polite thing and not sit there and go, can I have your autograph? Because they're not there for that. They're there to watch their kid play baseball.
Or you're trying not to look at them and go, inconceivable!
Basically.
I do not think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that guy gets so tired of people saying inconceivable to him.
Probably does.
He has done so much other work. As brilliant as that was, that man has done so much other work, and all he's going to be remembered for is fezzing.
And then you have Mandy Patinkin, who has done so much other work, and none of it is reminiscent of Inigo Montoya. Yet everybody will come up to him and say, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. Killed my father. Prepare to die.
I think there are a few people who will recognize him from Dead Like Me and Criminal Minds.
Oh, especially Criminal Minds.
Right.
Because Criminal Minds, he managed to play a tortured person close enough to like Inigo, but different enough to not be the same. He came close.
Actually, and in Dead Like Me, it was a very similar character.
Yes.
But
there was enough of a difference to where he could say, no, I'm not signing that. That's the wrong quote for that picture.
Right. Oh, and then there's Carrie Ewells.
Yes.
Who people are likely to forget was even in the movie, except he was still brilliant in the movie. In The Princess Bride. Because he's done so much other work since then that's got him recognized.
He's honestly more likely to get remembered for Robin Hood than he is
Robin Hood or Saw.
That
the
too.
First Saw movie.
Or my favorite, where he got to play an actual, well, not got to play an actual bad guy, but where he got to play a campy bad guy, which was Ella Enchanted.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I loved the book. I really loved the book, and I was so tickled when they turned it into a movie. And then he got to play the evil prince. It's like, this is awesome.
So about that horror movie, a bit of a pun, but honest truth. I never saw it.
You know, if I didn't have a problem with gore, with splat gore movies, the story behind it was really kind of neat.
The concept was interesting. I was not willing to watch the execution. No pun intended there.
Right. No, I get it. Like, I forced
So
myself through the first and second one and was like, oh, brilliant storytelling. Can't take it. Cannot do it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. No, I can't. Like, nah. Nah, I'm good.
Put this on paper, I'll skip the bloody parts and just hit the high notes, thank you.
Kind of. I mean, the other part of it, where I really couldn't take it into, was when she fell into a pit of used dirty heroin needles that still had heroin on them, and I wasn't quite far enough past my quitting heroin to not have a moment of, oh god, oh. And it's like there are movies that elicit that visceral response in me, that response in me, that, like, I can't watch Bring Out Your Dead because Nicolas Cage looks so much like I felt when I was on heroin, when I was on opiates.
I would not recommend Candy for you to watch either then.
Right. Like that. So there are just certain movies that it's like, and maybe I can take it now that it's been decades, but also,
you mentioned the title to that Nicolas Cage movie, and all I can think of is Monty Python.
Bring out your dead. Bring out your
Exactly.
dead.
Okay. So what I'm hearing, in your case specifically, A Wonderful Peanut Gallery, is that if there's ever a period of time where you were trapped in the living room with my brother, do not mention any of the movies you've never seen.
Well, look at it this way. Not to be disrespectful to others, but I have a pair of functioning legs. I can walk away.
I know.
Unless he goes all Saw on a movie marathon.
I'm thinking more just using the social norms of, oh, you want to escape. I'm going to wind you up in Southern BS and talk to you until you agree to see something without realizing you've agreed to see something, because I will double talk you like I am a frickin' car salesman.
I will also gladly tell someone in the middle of something that, nope, not for me.
Yeah. He'll respect that. If you flat out go, I don't like this, he will respect that.
That is the thing about Northerners versus Southerners. Southerners can be talked into stuff out of doing it out of politeness. Oh, they made an offer, you really ought to do it. You really ought to take them up on that offer, else y'all might
offend them.
Offend them. Northerners like, I don't care. Northerner would be like,
excuse me?
We've already been down that road.
Midwesterner. No, you behave more like a Northerner than a Midwesterner. You can get Midwesterners to do stuff with out of guilt and social obligation. So yeah, you do behave in that way. You're more Northern.
I will go through the first 5-15 minutes of something to honestly give it a try. But no, I am not going to let myself be tortured, psychologically scarred, or for something absolutely terrible out of obligation when I've fulfilled the obligation by at least trying.
Right.
Although sometimes, even though it's not that great, you stick around because the not great part is what's hilarious. AKA Blender Cam.
AKA what?
Blender Cam. Oh.
I am... Okay, is this using Blender for animation to do...
No.
Have you ever heard of the series Grimm?
Yeah, vaguely. That was
Okay.
the Brothers Grimm being ghost hunters and stuff, whatever, right?
Nope.
Okay, never
Nope.
mind. Then no,
Sort of, but not.
It's a supernatural detective series where the main character is quasi-supernatural himself, therefore capable of seeing the supernatural.
Right.
Whereas most people are not, unless the supernatural specifically shows itself to them. Now,
Right.
one of the things is, throughout the series, you'll be watching a scene and it'll switch between cameras. And one camera that they use is fuzzy, grainy, just terrible quality. And they'll use it in the same scene with other cameras that are perfectly fine. There's no, artistic reason for this. It doesn't denote anything when they're using this camera.
It's just the camera that apparently fell in the blender and they fished it back out to use it because they were broke.
And the reason why this term came up is because there was an episode where a camera looks like the camera fell in the blender because it was part of something terrible happening. And it's just like, it finally makes sense! It was the camera that fell in the blender! It's the blender cam!
Okay.
So, the series does not necessarily hold up well for production values and stuff. The storyline that they've got going and they're working on building is kind of interesting. I've seen pretty much the whole series. I've enjoyed it. And like I said, I admit, production values do not hold up.
Do they use German names for things occasionally throughout the show?
Yep, a lot of
Regularly,
times.
yes.
Okay, I saw the first 2-3 episodes.
Right.
And it's that the guy is related to the Brothers Grimm.
Very distantly, but yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay.
Yes. The first 2 or 3 seasons, it's basically Monster of the Week detective show.
Yep.
And him doing his level best to be a good person and help out regardless of who is doing what and getting things set.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes, supernatural politics stuff that's coming into play that's out to get him and his loved ones and his whole town and pick a subgroup.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, Blender Cam. The camera that fell in the blender and you fished it out and kept going because you was a broke production company.
Right. I get that. All right.
I think during the first episode, I told you 3 or 4 times, if you want to stop, you don't have to watch the next episode.
It is painful at points, but it's actually interesting enough to get past the occasional overdose of camp,
Or
the
cringe.
occasional super bad acting, and that was probably halfway decent in the 90s, even though this was filmed in the aughts.
Yes, yes.
Um,
It was a CW
I
production.
definitely would have kept watching if uh if my life hadn't made me have to move away from watching TV at that point and do other things.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Back back
When
to
I
the.
couldn't keep up with the schedule, it was like, well, guess this is another show that I'll just sort of end there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Back before everything was streaming.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, moving on to this bit from the Smithsonian Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
You might think of shrimp as bugs of the sea, but a remarkable discovery shows the opposite. Bugs are actually shrimp of the land. A recent study suggested that insects branched out from crustaceans on the tree of life. Well, then, that means that roly-polies are just less evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Shrimp look an awful lot like bugs. The exoskeletons, jointed legs, and compound eyes of both groups of living things have them more than passing resemblance to each other. So, no wonder some people call shrimp like crawfish mud bugs, and tattoo reading shrimp is bugs became viral meme for underscoring the resemblance. But the tattoo got the reality backwards. Shrimp are not bugs. Bugs, or more properly insects, are technically a form of crustacean. Biologists of many different subdisciplines categorize life in a field called systematics. Living things of all sorts, both extant and extinct, are constantly being compared and evaluated to build what we so commonly think of as the tree of life. The addition of new species and novel analysis are constantly reshaping the evolutionary tree, and sometimes the category shifts more than just a few twigs, but entire evolutionary branches. Birds are now known to be dinosaurs, for example. Whales are technically hoofed mammals called artiodactyls. And thanks to a 2023 study in molecular biology and evolution, insects have been shifted into the same group as shrimp and crabs called pancrustacea. The realization that bugs were close relatives of crustaceans took almost a century of curiosity to uncover. Paleontologist Joanna Wolf of Harvard University, one of the authors of the 2023 study, notes that researchers noticed that some insects and crustaceans have the same structures in their eyes and nervous systems. The resemblance could have been the result of convergent evolution, when two groups independently evolved in the same way. And so the idea that insects are modified crustaceans didn't catch, but the hypothesis didn't fully go away either. They're selling this like it has been full on decided that this is what it is. Even though
I
they
mean,
tell us at the top that this can also change.
they're scientists. That's their job.
No, it's these are reporters. Their job is to make it sound absolute. Scientists are the ones going, we don't know. We're just going where the evidence leads.
Fair.
Yeah. All right. This is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that it is the other way around from what has been generally assumed. But I'm also I also find it a little I find their coverage of it to be somewhat lacking. Something in that didn't feel like it went quite right.
honestly, the way it was written, it felt more like... It felt less like one of the actual, usual Smithsonian reporters,
Mm-hmm.
and more like one of the junior
Right.
scientists. Like they had someone there are doing study for both science and journalism, and they're like, here, write this up.
Right. Somebody who's learning science communication.
Right.
But interesting. Well, all right. Now let's move along to what our what we were really going to be covering today.
The erstwhile Fae Fest.
Yes. The Fae Fest. So. Volume's almost all the way up there. Let's get this going from our reporters on the scene. Oh, before we start, actually, before I start the video, I wanted to pull up what? Whiskey Palians? What? So, before we went into the Fae Fest, we stopped off at one of the food trucks. Stopped off at the Pie Guy. And I want to take a moment to shout out the Pie Guy, because the Pie Guy knows curry, and the Pie Guy knows sweet potato pie.
Mm-hmm.
That was some good pie. QR code up there in the corner if you guys want to try and scan that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Any locals, if you can come catch the Pie Guy, you better. It's worth it. Alright, now back to this. Oh, that's not gonna work.
What? Trying to make the screen larger?
No.
Oh.
All right, distracting you?
Probably.
Try that again. Hello, friends. Trevor Stewart 1308 here with Nikwork Entertainment, and we're about to do the Charlottesville Fairy Festival.
There we go. So that works.
All right, you could hear that?
I can hear
again
that.
for the second year in a row. So join us while we have some fun and meet some fairies. Thank you, friends. Well, now you can't hear it because there's no audio.
Well, yes.
This guy was pretty interesting.
He was very interesting.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you talk with him.
Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to explain this thing we're doing with the book.
Okay.
To the audience at home. So, I don't know how many of you know what kind of fae tricks there are out there in the world, but if a fairy asks you to give them your name, don't. Because they will take your name and then you won't have a name. If they're really nice fairies, they'll give you a name back, but it's not guaranteed you'll get your name back. And because I'm the kind of fairy that likes to prank other fairies, we decided, well, last year, if you were watching, I believe we caught it on camera where I took the goblins' names.
You tried. I know that at least one of them looked at you and said no.
One of them knew better. The other ones, and I ended up giving their names back.
Mm-hmm.
Because they weren't quite ready for it. But so I've I just noticed your comment, Peanut Gallery. Divergent evolution, like how most trees have nothing to do with each other. I think divergent evolution would be described as how elephants and, actually, I guess it wouldn't be elephants. How cows and whales have nothing to do with each other. That would be divergent.
Most trees evolved completely separate from each other. They have no actual relationship.
Right. That's why it's convergent evolution. It's two separate things that converged on a design. Like bats and birds. The wings, the two separate groups, developed wings separately, developed flight separately. They are not at all alike, but they develop the same characteristics. That's convergent evolution. Divergent evolution would be the opposite of that, where you have two things that started out almost exactly alike and diverged into completely different things, i.e., cows and whales, hoofed mammals.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going with that because it, as I've heard convergent evolution described, that's what that is. And I've never heard divergent evolution described. Would that follow?
No.
I obviously don't feel comfortable with your okay answer. I feel like that was giving up way too easy. It's like, oh crap.
No, makes sense. Therefore, I conceded.
That makes me uncomfortable. Most people don't do that. That's very decent.
Sorry?
Do you want us to give up harder or something? Be more argumentative in our desire to give up?
No. No, I think...
Okay. Back to stealing the names of the goblins.
Back to stealing the... Yes. So... one of you two thought up the idea of getting the notebook and getting the... and actually getting them to give me their names. And the other one had the notebook and the pen, and so that's what this is about. Now, because we can't just let it go at that, Kat had a brilliant idea to print out cards that say, Your name has been taken by Trevor Stewart 1308. Your new name is Fred. So that's what the cards are getting handed out. And that explains why I'm going to call this guy Fred at the end.
And his look at the end.
Yeah.
I hope I got to look accurately.
I hope so too. I also hope that I didn't make the audio quality too questionable by juggling the sound recorder around like I did.
We'll see.
Your idea to have them hold it later on, and I realized that was just so that you could hold camera. I think that's a good idea, though. I think that was, in this situation, a good idea. I think in future I need to figure something else out, possibly. But in any case,
fair enough.
Let's move on. Hello, I'm Trevor Stewart 1308 with Nikwork Entertainment, and can we have your name for one?
My name is Jay.
Jay?
And company here is the Hermit's Hatchery.
Hermit's Hatchery, and what do you guys specialize in?
Epoxy resin.
Epoxy resin, wow. So these are all
dragon eggs. That's the hatchery.
Of course.
Yes. You came back. You did come back. Yeah. All right. Hold on. How much is that one? 111. Cool.
Also, I love the fact that he replied to it. Thank you.
And cash or jug?
Card.
I'll edit this bit out later.
No, I won't.
Did one too many. Oh.
I think my lens needs cleaned off. Notice it's not focusing at all. That's fair. I like the lines too.
Yeah, the lines are good too.
And would you like a receipt?
I don't need one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. My fiance's gonna love it.
Awesome. You have a great one.
Something he just said just made something make sense.
Excellent.
Oh,
yeah?
I'm sorry. I'm not actually buying anything. I'm in. Something. What?
Something he said makes something that you have done make sense.
What's that?
The card you're about to hand him, that's the receipt.
yes. Yes, that is a receipt. That is entirely why there's a card. It's proof that we stole the name. Well, that we traded for the name.
No. That they gave it up willingly.
Either which way, it's still a receipt.
Guys, so it is a receipt. You go ahead. You have money.
Artist lanyard. No, this is a friend.
Oh, okay. This is a friend. Well, in that case, if you're not spending money here, then
no, I'm worth.
So, how did you? I'm going to leave that bit in if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Do you mind if we leave that bit in?
No, please do.
Okay, thank you. How did you get into? Okay, first question: is this is all cast?
Yes, this is epoxy resin. It's a two-part epoxy. You mix it in. Eco-poxy is my preferred resin when I can afford
Eco-poxy.
it. Eco-poxy is the name of it. They're not even paying me, but there's a shameless
is
plug
there
for
a
them.
reason why they're your favorite?
Easiest to work with and an environmental conscience.
Environmentally conscious is very important, and I was
Yes.
figuring so because their name has
the name.
eco
Yep.
in it. So how did you get into epoxy resin casting?
All right, this is kind of a bit of a long story, but
Perfect.
suffice to say, I discovered that I had a 20-year-old daughter. And so as I got to know her and as we formed a relationship and started to grow.
I am very proud of myself at that moment for not having said, as one does,
You and me both.
I just found out I had a 20-year-old daughter. As happens occasionally, you know. Not the first time I've heard that part of the story before.
Especially keeping in mind we're at a festival for fairy creatures.
Right, like...
She mentioned to me that she had a baseball bat for home defense. I am personally a sword man. I
get
love
it.
swords.
I get it.
So
I am too.
I took that as a personal insult and learned how to cast epoxy in order to make her a sword. Which I did.
Epoxy, there is an epoxy that is both hard and soft enough to make a good blade.
They're not gonna break.
Yep, those are like pool balls.
Oh.
Yeah, they are hard enough. Exactly.
That is.
I can take down an Ewok with this.
Or an Ewok can take you down.
Or a stormtrooper.
But yes, it's a very, very resilient. I actually just had a display completely collapse.
Oh wow!
I mean, this was its trial run, but I was not worried about any of the objects that I was selling that I had on that display. So,
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing we lost was the display itself.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's how I got into it. I haven't yet. Even though we're in Virginia, which is an open carry state, I'm still navigating the legality of selling an epoxy sword. So I haven't gotten that far yet.
The legality of it is going to be as long as only one edge and one point are sharp, it is legal to openly carry and sell in this state. Anything more than one blade and one point, and it is illegal.
Excellent. Okay, that's very good to know. Thank you.
Not that I pay attention to that or anything. I have a dagger. I mean, it's really nice metal, but it's, you know, a pretty cheap design.
Ooh, I can be official again.
Hey. All right. It is good. Good metal, kind of cheap design, kind of classic, you know, Crusader design. All metal. And when I was like, I can't have this and not have it be sharp. So I sharpened both sides and thought about taking it out, and then went, I'd better check the legality on this before I wear it downtown.
Exactly.
And no, it's not legal. As soon as I sharpened that second edge, the only exception I've found so far are hunting and skinning knives. That interior skinning hook is allowed to be sharp.
Okay. Just the top part of that hook. Okay.
Just the part that grabs and opens.
Excellent. Okay.
Yep.
Learn something new every day. Thank you.
No problem. Let's see. So you've been doing this for 20 years.
I've been doing
or not
this
20
for
years.
5 years.
5 years. You've been doing this for 5 years. Where do you get your ideas for your designs? I see a lot of really cool stuff cast into the, and I'm assuming that these are different resins cast together.
Precisely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's whatever occurs to me.
So this is all just straight up out of your imagination, huh?
Yes. It's,
How much D&D did you play? Do you play?
I did a lot as a child. Now that I have children of my own, I don't have the time. But my son actually is in a D&D club at his school. So
Congratulations! That's really awesome. D&D clubs in schools? I love it.
I know, right?
I had to go to a whole private school when I was a kid just to get a D&D club. And even then, I had to make it happen.
I'm moving over here.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It is? Okay.
Yep, just a little bit of rain.
We were going to miss the rain.
So, I guess final questions. Where can people find you online? And in general. I'm just
online,
assuming.
I am at Not So Scary Creation.
Not So Scary Creations.
Yep.
All right.
That's my Etsy shop.
On it. Okay.
And yes, this is my business card.
And this is your business card. Oh, that is wonderful.
That is awesome. I love that.
May we?
Absolutely.
Thank you. This is
thank you.
wonderful.
I'll trade you business cards.
Oh, excellent. Cool. That worked. Awesome. Excellent.
So it's been nice to meet you, Fred. Is there anything else you wish to tell the world? Actually, I do have one more question. Is there any misconceptions about resin casting that you would like to clear up?
No, nothing comes to mind.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody needs
Thank you so much.
Everybody needs a staff.
Everybody
Agreed.
needs a staff.
Yes.
Agreed. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much.
And enjoy the rest of the festival, which is now wet.
Well, at least be wet for a minute.
Not as wet as it was yesterday.
Not as wet as it. That's true.
Yep.
That's true. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Fred.
Great meeting you.
This was her idea, by the way. The book and the cards were her idea.
All right, nice. Thank you.
That was, yeah. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Oh, that was fun. Oh, that was fun. The look on his face was precious. He's like, he laughed at first, being like, wait, what? Looks down at the card and is, oh, crap. And busts up laughing. That was beautiful.
I think using the name Fred, I mean saying Fred like right after he's read it,
right, helped
with that, because he's just read it and now, but he didn't process it until you said something.
Right, because I was waiting for him to read it and go, wait a second, but he didn't.
No.
So I was like, okay, now I can call your attention to it.
Yep.
Oh, that was so good. Priceless. Thank you, Kat. Thank you. It was brilliant.
Well, we've got more, and hopefully next time we'll have a better extended day where we can hand out more cards and hopefully turn everybody into Fred.
Right. Get as much of it as possible. All right. And on to the interview with the mermaid.
Yes.
I'm Kathy. I'm with Nikwork Entertainment. We interviewed several mermaids last summer. You were not part of the party. Could I get your name?
Madison the Mermaid.
Madison the Mermaid. And when I'm done, I've got a little book. If you could write it down in there,
for sure.
Awesome. So how far did you have to swim to get here this year?
This year I swam all the way up a river. I had somebody carry me here. It was an event, but roughly from the Atlantic on the Virginia coast side. So,
are you happy to be this far inland with the start of the hurricane season?
I am. I'm a fan of rain, even though I'm under here. It's just for posterity's sake. This is my pool that has kept me cool for the last 2 days. It's a little bit muddy. It's a little bit messy. I haven't cleaned my room. Bear with me. But yeah, I've been enjoying this weather here in landlocked Central Virginia.
Has the rain made keeping your pool and other things harder, or has it helped out?
It's kind of made it a little bit harder, only because I can't move the pool out into the rain to clean out my room, because then I wouldn't have to lift a fin.
Very cool. And how long have you been visiting inland as a mermaid?
She was so tickled with herself for the lift a fin joke.
Yes.
Oh
Yes,
my God, I
was.
just caught that. Like, she was so tickled.
She was really nervous I guess yes, the day before, someone else, like Channel 29, had caught her, and she was not ready to do an interview, and so she felt she had flubbed their interview really, really badly.
Oh, wow.
And
She, as soon as you asked how far she had to swim to get there, I saw her really chill, like, or just be like, oh, okay, it's like this kind of interview. I get to be a mermaid for this interview.
Yes.
She seemed to
and that's what I told her before I started the camera going, was I'm asking you about being a mermaid. You're gonna nail it.
Don't worry, you're fine. We got this.
Don't worry, you're Finn.
Huh? You're Finn. Ah! Stay in character and everything will go swimmingly.
Beat me to it. Although there was one problem with the interview. It did come across a little bit fishy.
A little fishy, yes.
Well,
about 50% fish.
I think she's working for scale.
Okay.
Probably a Pisces.
Maybe.
Okay, so those jokes come from that album. That comedy album. He seemed a little fishy. Probably a Pisces. Working for scale. Yeah, okay.
I guess I'm.
What were you going to say?
I loved her answer when I asked her about mermaids on the in the Pacific.
Yes. I didn't listen to the whole thing when I was putting it together, but yeah. I heard a bit of her response.
Originally from the Gulf Coast of Texas. So I have swam a very long way to be here for, it's been about 8 years I've been swimming in these waters.
That is the spicy mermaids, as I was told last year.
Yes. It's a good time.
Have you ever visited with mermaids on the other coast?
On the West Coast? Mm-hmm. I haven't actually. I don't think I have met a single West Coast mer. Gulf Coast, Atlantic Coast, but no West Coast mermaids.
Sounds like something we need to talk to the organizers about.
Maybe. Just get somebody from everywhere.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome.
Thank you. So I can
Alright, we're just holding it. We don't have to push any buttons or anything.
I have pushed the buttons.
Push the buttons.
So, there was 2 seconds or less of footage that went along with this audio.
Oh.
Yeah, and I heard the camera turn off.
Oh.
In this. Yeah.
See, and when I went to go turn it off, it looked like it was still running.
The audio recorder was still running.
Yes.
No. I mean, the audio recorder was still running from the mermaid interview. You didn't stop the audio recorder, you only paused it.
Okay.
It was, which is fine. By the way, it's the only reason to not do that is because you don't want to pause it in the middle of an interview.
Right.
If you have to pause in the middle of an interview, if you have to pause the interview, you should just either let everything keep running or stop everything dead.
Right.
And restart everything up.
Don't worry, she's learning. She's still just a little wet behind the ears with it.
Good one. It's to make editing easier. It's to make guessing where the cuts need to be easier, because you don't need to go through and separate, okay, this part of the audio from that part of the audio. It's
Right.
like, this is
Nope.
here, this is here. But it is, because there was no video to go with it, it wasn't that big a deal.
Fair enough. Like I said, I would have sworn the camera was running.
Yeah.
Oh well.
It was running when you started things. For some reason, it didn't keep running, and I think it may have been battery dying, or it may have been... I don't know what it was.
Okay.
I don't know what it was.
Fair enough.
It may have been a heat thing.
It could have been, although... It could have been, honestly.
We're gonna need to figure something out around that, like possibly having 2 cameras, and one camera for the interviews and one camera for the walking around, and so you're running you're running them alternating.
Mm. Could be.
Something. We're gonna have to figure something out.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool beans.
A lot of buttons. How do you know which one to push?
Generally, I'm told push the
That
big
was
one.
the sound of the camera turning off. Did you hear that? That's when it turned off, right then.
Okay.
Yeah, like it was not much.
I thought you weren't supposed to push the big red button. I don't know. That's what I was
You're not
told.
supposed to push the big red.
I'm not
I am
supposed to. You're supposed to push it. Okay. My goodness. Well,
So I'm with Nikwork Network News
hi.
Entertainment. We came through last year, and we were fortunate enough to be able to interview the Goblin Embassy.
Oh, you met Mudge then, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Love Mudge.
If I could get your names for the interview.
Oh, of course, my name is Spider.
Spider.
How did the mermaid react to getting her
She
name?
was giggling.
Good.
She was giggling. She appreciated that.
Good. I'm curious as to how they took it too, but we'll ask that at the end.
Yeah, I'll tell you at the end.
Yeah.
Because I spoke with three members of the embassy, and I only got 2 names.
Next year, the goblins and the fairies are gonna be like, yeah, there's somebody walking around taking names. No, taking names. Don't give out your name.
Mary Wind. I've got a little book. If you could write that down for me later, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Next year we need to bring extra cash and hire a kid. Hey, would you go up to that group of fairies and ask if you can have their names and give them the book to sign?
It might work, but honestly, from what I observed, going on the second day, everybody is already tired and they're not thinking as clearly. So that is actually the key to success.
Okay, I like it.
Because there were people that I had talked to earlier that honestly did not recognize me when I came back through.
Okay.
So can you tell me what you do here at the embassy?
All right. So we've got a couple of options for you. First and foremost, because we are an official fairy embassy, we can stamp your passports. Full disclosure, I'm not entirely certain what a passport is. Okay. So I've just been stamping pieces of paper, leaves. I stamp somebody's face. It all counts. So we're not picky what your passport is, but we can stamp it and it is official.
Perhaps you can stamp my book after you sign your name.
I would be honored to. Yes. Also, we have snail mail here with Postmaster Larry, if you can get a shot of our fabulous Postmaster Larry.
Overseeing the operation.
Yes.
Quite wonderful.
So you can send some snail mail, and the snails will deliver it eventually. They are snails after all,
Right.
so it does take some time. Oh, and if where you're trying to send a letter has a bunch of salt, it will come back non-deliverable. The snails do not like salt. But other than that, the snails can deliver to whoever, wherever, and whenever. Nothing is as reliable as a snail.
Okay. Very, very awesome.
Uh-huh.
Have you had any interesting interactions with other fey creatures while you're here?
Well, I mean, we do have Haggis. You'll see him wandering around. He's the troll. He bathes in sunscreen in order to come out here, because otherwise, of course, trolls will turn to stone.
Given the rain we just had, that might have washed all the sunscreen off, so he may not be able to.
I think he popped into the looking glass for that, just to be safe. I did have an 11-year-old human who came in and asked me to put a curse on somebody. I refused, but I did teach them how, because all 11-year-old girls go through a witchcraft phase.
You need to learn.
That's just how it works, right? Right. We've got a fabulous mermaid over there named Madison. We did get to hang out with her, and I met a very impressive bird named Pee-wee.
Pee-wee. I will have to look for Pee-wee.
I think Pee-wee is gone.
He didn't leave, unfortunately.
Yes.
That is sad.
But other than that, we've had foxes and kittens. We had a very charming black cat come through. We had a Landstrider, I think. I'm not sure what they were, but they had long arms and were covered in ivy. A little terrifying, but also very cool. Very cool.
Deer.
Yeah. Any other fun ones you think you've seen?
Some deer, some fellow moths.
Oh,
some
very
butterflies.
good. Very good.
Yes. Some
would you be a
mushrooms.
rosy moth?
I would be, yes.
Very cool. One of my favorite moths.
Thank you.
Well, next to Mothman, but that's different.
Well, Mothman's, yeah.
Yes,
We
he's
love
with
Mothman.
us.
We love
Yeah.
Mothman. Yeah.
Awesome. And it is wonderful to see that the embassy is doing so well despite the rain and the interesting weather we've had this weekend.
Hey, you know what? It's cooled us off. We got to run around the tent during the rain with some fellow fairies. It was very delightful. So, all in all, it's good for the flowers.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I'll give this back to you.
Cool beans.
So that was the Fairy Festival coverage. How did they react to getting their names taken?
Well, I will say that the third fairy, which their name was Mike, and I did not get their name, was very looked very thrilled and smug to not be handed a card displaying that they had lost their name.
I knew it. I knew it.
The other two were sort of surprised that they had fallen into that trap as easily.
It's like, come on, guys. You're surrounded by us. Somebody says, "Can I have your name?" You say no.
But they did sign the book, and they did stamp it later for the passport.
Oh, good. Which means that. Wait, there's not a single member of our label that's not a fairy. I just realized, or not like. Well, Darth Dragonis isn't fairy, but I don't think dragons need passports in fairyland.
Dragons are still considered fey creatures, so...
Oh, okay, yeah. But, like, 3 kobolds in a trench coat? Oh, that's fey.
I love you too, dear.
I mean, no offense, Peanut Gallery.
If there's any offense, I doubt
Thoroughly
it's...
taken.
If there's any offense, I doubt it's directed at you specifically, since I am the main proponent of that particular slander?
Slander. And conspiracy theory.
Slander and conspiracy theory. I am the main proponent of that.
There's no one has proved that it's
Canon.
not true yet.
Kanon. Proponent of kobold conspiracy theories.
Okay. Just to keep things safe, you better still spell conspiracy with a C, though.
I mean, yeah.
Because otherwise, that would be one too many K's in a row. So it's the KKC instead of, you know, the alternative. If it would please your honor, I would like to submit.
See, this right here is why when I get a chance to go to most... Oh no.
How do you know a mermaid is insecure? She keeps fishing for compliments.
Took me a couple of minutes to write because I was trying to find the proper spelling for she.
That is a good one. That is a good one, dear.
I'll put that in as a short. I'll record that as a short as soon as we finish. As soon as we finish stream.
Yeah.
Check messenger.
Oh dear. Why am I now concerned? Never mind. I started out the whole show concerned. I'm fine.
What do you call a fairy with whips and leather? A dominatrix.
Yeah, there's your second short.
That's tomorrow's joke.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, me.
No. Him.
Somebody. Oh, somebody.
Oh, somebody. Okay, well, one last thing to take care of before we get out of here. Get out of here. So, I have been hanging on to these. Hopefully they're still good. They've been in their Ziploc bag. Yes.
Okay.
What did you call them again?
It's clementine cake.
Clementine cake. I keep wanting to call it mandarin cake, and I'm like, that is not right.
Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling Clementine.
And that's why I try to forget Clementine. So, for a brief moment of gastrophilia, I mean, I guess breakfast with the Kush Gang is gastrophilia as well. But we are
Yeah.
going to try Kat's clementine cake. Nice little skull-faced clementine cake. It
For when you're
smells
too lazy.
like it smells like upside down cake without the pineapple. It tastes like sugar, fresh oranges, and upside down cake.
Fair enough.
I feel like if I'd have eaten them right away, they'd have been better.
Probably.
I feel like they could have still had a little crispiness on them.
Well, they never had crispiness.
No, it is a very moist cake. And I'm not sure that I mentioned it when I handed it to you, but the reason you've got skulls is because
I thought it was
when
because
I
I
went-
was a goth and you actually care about what I'm into. He says
yes
he
and no.
rips the bottom jaw off.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, yes and no.
Just
It
go
was-
with yes. Just go with yes. We can just stay there. All I heard was yes.
Okay, fine.
No, you can go ahead and explain.
This is laziness. I did not want to get another cupcake pan. I didn't want to get the other cupcake pans off of the rack, so I pulled off the character ones that were easier to reach, and so there was a tray of cats, there was a tray of skulls, there was a tray of something else, and when I went to pick out ones to bring to you, I deliberately brought you the skull one.
Oh, well, thank you.
So, yes.
And all I heard was yes.
Just be glad you didn't leave them in that tray too long.
Because
The Scullies would have moldered.
the Scullies would have moldered. Talk about digging up in 90s.
That joke has an X-Files factor.
Yeah. So, I'm glad that they're still edible.
They're good.
Yeah.
I would say I would have finished them at 400 for 5 minutes, maybe. 400 for a little while to get a caramelization on the sugar on there, on the top, to make it crispy. Or you could use propane torch and do them that way. Do them like a creme brulee, like.
Whatever you say, Stewart. Jimmy Stewart.
Shh.
I'd like to say right now, what you're hearing is a cross between Jimmy Stewart and Martha Stewart. This is Jimmy Stewart's Martha Stewart tips.
Yes.
And so,
that is-
if you add just a little chicory to your coffee, it'll taste great, and that is a good thing. But
Yes.
what you don't what you don't want to do is get caught insider trading, because that's a bad thing.
You know, it's a bad thing, but honestly, one of the most entertaining friendships is Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg.
Well, because one of them is a convicted felon.
And the other a music star.
Right? I am amazed at how many people with the last name Stewart are actually kind of respected in the hood. You know, because Jon Stewart's out there telling it like it is. Martha Stewart, convicted felon and probably packing.
Probably.
I'm looking for a third, but like, I don't want to be like, and me, you know.
I mean, who hasn't grown up watching Jimmy Stewart do movies and do It's a Wonderful Life?
I want to live, Clarence. I want to live.
Millennials. Millennials.
Yeah, millennials.
I mean, millennials are younger. They really haven't seen it because it hasn't been on TV as much.
Oh.
Of course, there's also, what's TV? You mean Netflix?
Zoomer. Well, yes and no, because it if you have either parents or grandparents that is their personal favorite Christmas show, they're going to force every child that they encounter to watch it because it's a learning opportunity.
I mean, true.
But yeah, it's a black and white movie that most people will not have watched by now.
Mine steered me away from it because it had heavy Christian overtones.
Oh,
and undertones.
Yeah, it does.
And polytones. It was
really, I hadn't noticed.
Most Christians don't.
Dear. But I will note, it is one of those movies that that list that I posted of movies that are in the public domain. One of the reasons that it is played on every network during the holiday season is because it has fallen into public domain and anybody can play it.
Oh, it fell into public domain early because it flopped.
And they didn't renew anything and they refused to. And then everybody started playing it and they couldn't fix it.
And they couldn't get royalties for it either.
Nope.
That's unfortunate.
That is.
Oh well.
I think the most important.
I believe that artists should be supported and paid and well paid at that. But I also think that art should be free and should be free to reuse. To create something else with. It's just
I think the most unfortunate part about that is corporate Hollywood learned the lesson and now keeps everything tightly buttoned up so that they don't lose that chance ever again.
And
Except
Disney
that they're not. There are movies on that list like McClintock, and more recent movies that they just let go because they didn't like it.
Oh, good.
Is Animal Farm on that list?
You'd have to look again. There are a lot that are currently on that list.
And once you're on that list, it's very hard to get off that list.
Exactly.
Which is why Disney did everything they could to extend the length of time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why Mickey Mouse is just now falling into public domain.
But only certain versions.
Right.
And that's the thing that everybody needs to remember when they're jumping for joy and going, I'm going to do this, is make sure of which version.
Same with Winnie the Pooh and his crew.
Yep.
Winnie the Pooh and Steamboat Willie.
Yep.
Woohoo! Disney Rule 34, Steamboat Willie.
Oh no.
No. Nope.
Although that does explain that one animated thing that they were able to get away with.
You're welcome for that piece of brain rot.
Thank you. I didn't need it, but thank you.
Who would needs it?
And moving quickly along to anything else. Crap. Now I can't think of anything else.
We are now closing out the show because we've discussed all of the things.
Yes,
you
we
tried
are.
the clementine cake.
I did. It is good. I like it. It is good. I would finish it at 400 for maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10, until it got crispy and caramelized on top. Maybe
there's only so much crisping that's going to do.
Well, you give it a dusting of sugar too.
Yeah.
To get to get something to caramelize.
The biggest problem is how many wet ingredients are in there versus dry ingredients.
Yeah.
Because it's literally like you take five clementines and you boil them and throw them in a blender with eggs and sugar, and then you're only adding like 2 cups of almond flour to that.
Right, which is why you dust it with the sugar afterwards. You put the sugar on top afterwards, I guess. I
would say that it's more a case of you would dust it with sugar and brulee it as you're serving it. Because if you did it and let it sit, especially if you were going to let it sit in the fridge, you would lose your nice crust.
Yeah, you'd have to. Plus, if you wanted it to... Okay. Here's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Expose it to modern politics. That'll make everybody crusty.
That ruins the cake. No.
What you do is you preheat the pan with the sugar in the bottom. You preheat the pan at 400 so that the sugar caramelizes on the bottom. Then you put the batter in as the oven is coming back down to proper temperature, and you stick and then you stick it in so that it's caramelized on the bottom with a layer of caramel on the bottom with the skull face or the cat shape in it. So that you're not losing details as you do it.
That's a thought. That might work.
Because the caramelized sugar, is still way heavier than the batter. If you pour it in carefully over a spoon, pour the batter in over a spoon so you spread it out so it doesn't splat down and displace. And if you add an extra egg to it, you make it even fluffier, and this would be...
I don't think adding an extra egg would make it fluffier. There were already 6 in there.
Well, okay. Oh, yeah,
It is...
Okay. No, hear me out.
I'm listening.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, with that many eggs, how much sugar?
Use like maybe a half a cup, 3/4 of a cup. You're not using a lot of sugar because the oranges are providing most of your sweetness.
Okay. So, yeah, you do this like Yorkshire pudding. This is enough eggs versus dry ingredients and other ingredients that it will puff up if you put it into a screaming hot pan.
Hmm.
But you're also gonna want a bit of uh you're gonna want a bit of oil in with the sugar that's caramelizing on the bottom so that you get some hot oil which will be on top of the sugar. So because that's the other part of Yorkshire pudding, not just screaming hot pan, but screaming hot oil in the pan so that it puffs up. They're not using any leavener in the Yorkshire pudding. The only leavener is eggs and water and the dissipation of water. So if you do it like this, what you end up doing is making these really fluffy clementine Yorkshire puddings set in caramel.
So they just skipped right to 12?
What?
Right over the leavener.
Right. Yes. Yes, they did.
Gosh darn it.
I'll have to find a different pan to try that with.
You do want to use. I mean, you'd probably want to use. First time around, you'll want to use cupcake muffin tin.
Well, that's what I mean. I need to find a different one to work with because what I've got, what I have pan wise, they're all silicone.
Oh yeah, no, you want metal. You want metal
Right.
to do that to get a Yorkshire pud to pud.
Because I could do the caramel thing in the pans I've got now, and that would definitely keep the detail.
You
But
also,
to do your screaming hot pan thing, I would definitely need to go find myself a metal one to work with.
yeah.
All our cooking's done computerized. Done with silicone.
You've been up long enough.
I win.
Because you got her to hit you with a pool floaty first.
At all.
At all.
Please note that he started this morning out by calling me crazy lady.
Oh yeah, getting hit with a pool noodle was coming. It was.
And I still haven't figured out anything to call him back other than I love you.
3 kobolds in a trench coat.
Meanwhile, there was the
2.5.
wonderful opening. No, 3.
They must be short kobolds.
Well, I mean, they're sitting on shoulders. They're not standing the entire time. That would be wrong.
It was a long way for us to go to call him short.
It's a tall order.
Meanwhile,
It's a
there was
short joke.
You were trying to say.
I will.
You're
I
really
will
gonna try
take
again?
your recommendations for Clementine adjustments under advisement, and I will try them once I procure different pans to try them with. That is what I'm trying to say.
Fair enough. I'm curious to see how it comes out.
It's going to be a little bit before I do that again because I don't buy big bags of clementines that often.
The other, let me try that sentence again.
Yeah.
The other recommendation that I have is do add more eggs when trying the Yorkshire pudding version. Add more eggs just because of the amount of clementines and water that's in it.
Yeah. One thing I did notice, because I made 2 batches, because I had bought a bunch of clementines.
Okay.
So one thing that I noticed was, the first batch, I followed the directions of, take it out of your food processor, mix everything together by hand.
Mm-hmm.
And the second batch, I still had the next round of clementines in there. And so I just threw the eggs and everything in with it and let the food processor mix everything up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that batch seemed to come out with a better texture.
Okay.
So among other things, I'm thinking that perhaps working the clementines and eggs and sugar together for a longer period before adding the almond flour and then throwing it in the oven as soon as possible would probably be more useful too.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it the way I was taught to do it first, which did not involve using the food processor for anything other than chopping up whole clementines. Which that is the cool part about the recipe is you're boiling these oranges to get them good and soft, and then you're fishing them out of the water and throwing the whole thing in the blender.
What do you do with the water?
It depends on how long you boiled them. Like if you boiled it until the water was down really really low, it's really kind of orange scented, but it's also slightly bitter, so you can kind of add some sugar and make a syrup out of it. But you want to make sure that you scrubbed your oranges first before you do that.
Because what I was gonna say is, if you cook that down to syrup level, add sugar, you could double boil it to hard crack, and then use that as a brulee on top instead of a brulee. Or
you could use it to make simple syrup and make some very interesting old fashions.
That too. That'd be the third one.
That wouldn't actually go back into the recipe.
No, it'd just be served alongside the recipe.
But you could add a lot of sugar and cook it a bit and use that very thick sugar syrup, that not so simple syrup, to line the muffin tins.
Mm-hmm.
Muffin pan.
Use that as the caramel.
As the
on the
caramel.
bottom.
Yeah, and then you caramelize that at 400 for half the time, if that. At that point, you're just bringing it up to temperature to get to hard crack stage. You're not trying to melt it and bring it up to temperature, which is where it's difficult with granulized sugar.
Mm-hmm.
You both have to melt it and then bring it up to temperature.
Mm-hmm. Thought.
Or bring it up to temperature and melt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy to burn.
I'll look into playing with that the next time I make some. I know that when I was working at the retreat camp, because this is a very easily gluten-free dish, it was something that the kitchen director would make every so often as a treat for the end of the retreat. So, you've got everybody leaving, it's the final day, it's the final big dinner thing, everybody's doing their celebratory whatever. And we would make, clementine cake for everybody.
Nice. Well, all right. We've done our thing.
Yes.
It is time to call it in. long have we been going?
Mm,
All of a sudden, I don't have that information at hand. It is bizarre.
interesting.
2 hours.
Mm.
About 2 hours. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. Cat, Peanut Gallery. Thank you for hanging out. Chris into 386, thank you. Just Me Crystal, big love, much love. Mwah. Thank you for hanging out. And I'm gonna add to this the quick gastrophilia ending. The
All right.
you know, find something out there in the world that you love and truly enjoy it. Because joy is one of the only things that we truly have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that it is so difficult to find and have, and that when you have joy, you should treasure it. And also, be good to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Just be kind. Give each other space. Give each other the space they need, you need, all of you need, and be kind. It's not hard. Stick around for the raid. Thank you all for being here, lurkers and lovers. Thank you much. Thank you, friends.
Mm-hmm.
And now is the time on the show when I say, as they say around here, 2 up, 2 down, VA, double deuces. We're out, y'all.
You got an answer from Darth Dragonus.
Ah, what did Darth Dragonus say?
He was a Targaryen.
Well, there you go. I was wrong.